Mixed martial arts, or MMA, is one of the fastest-growing sports globally, and at the center of it all is the Ultimate Fighting Championship, better known as the UFC.
Wow.
It's a sport where multiple fighting styles collide, from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu
to Muay Thai, creating an electrifying spectacle. In this video, we'll dive deep into the origins, challenges, and milestones that transformed the UFC from a niche event to a global powerhouse.
Really? Powerhouse? Oh, well.
What makes UFC the king of combat sports, where fighting styles meet in the ultimate showdown? The origins. The UFC was born on November 12, 1993, thanks to a collaboration between businessman Art Davie, Brazilian martial artist Royce Gracie, and television executive Bob Merowitz. Their vision? To answer an age-old question: which martial art is the most effective in a real fight? Inspired by the brutal yet technical nature of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the founders created an event where fighters from various disciplines could face off. What inspired the creation of UFC? A quest for the ultimate martial art. The first ever event, UFC 1, was held in Denver, Colorado. It wasn't about flashy production or massive pay-per-views back then. It was raw, unfiltered combat. Royce Gracie, a relatively small fighter from the legendary Gracie family, dominated the competition using Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, proving that technique often triumphs over brute strength. This debut was a revelation. It showcased the effectiveness of ground fighting and changed how people viewed martial arts forever. What made UFC 1 so unforgettable? A small fighter, big triumphs, and a game-changing legacy. Early challenges. While UFC 1 grabbed attention, it wasn't all positive. Many viewed the event as violent and barbaric, with no gloves, weight classes, or time limits.
This is unbelievable.
Senator John McCain famously labeled it human cockfighting, igniting a media storm. State athletic commissions were quick to crack down, and the UFC found itself banned from several states.
Thanks to John McCain, he wrote letters to all 50 governors, and it became banned in virtually every single state.
With no major television deals and dwindling audiences, the company faced an uphill battle to survive. The lack of rules and regulations made it difficult to attract mainstream audiences or sponsors. The UFC needed change, and fast.
We need to make changes, and fast.
What stood in the UFC's way? Public backlash and a fight for legitimacy. The turning point. The late 1990s marked a critical shift. In response to growing criticism, the UFC introduced unified rules of MMA, establishing weight classes, time limits, and mandatory gloves. In 2001, a game-changing moment arrived. Zuffa LLC, led by casino magnates Frank and Lorenzo Fertitta, along with Dana White as president, purchased the struggling promotion for just $2 million. Their vision? To transform the UFC from an underground spectacle into a legitimate professional sport. With new management, the UFC began a rigorous campaign to gain regulatory approval across the United States. It was no longer about no-holds-barred fighting. It was about showcasing the athleticism, strategy, and skill involved in MMA. What was UFC's game-changer? A new vision, new rules, and a multi-million-dollar makeover. Rise to popularity. In 2005, the UFC took a bold step by launching The Ultimate Fighter, a reality show airing on Spike TV. The show followed aspiring fighters competing for a contract with the UFC, offering viewers a behind-the-scenes look at their lives and training. The finale between Forrest Griffin and Stephan Bonnar is often credited with saving the UFC. Their bloody, back-and-forth battle captivated audiences, drawing record-breaking viewership and turning casual viewers into lifelong fans. Pay-per-view numbers soared, and fighters like Chuck Liddell and Randy Couture became household names. The UFC was no longer a niche sport, it was mainstream. What sparked UFC's explosive rise? Reality TV, unforgettable battles, and fighters that captivated the world. Global expansion. With its newfound popularity, the UFC set its sights on global domination. It began hosting events in countries like Brazil, Canada, the UK, and Japan, bringing MMA to new audiences. Brazil, the birthplace of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, quickly became a key market. Canadian fans filled arenas to watch hometown hero Georges St-Pierre, while the UK embraced fighters like Michael Bisping. In 2014, the UFC made a significant push into Asia, holding events in China, South Korea, and the Philippines. The Middle East followed, with Abu Dhabi becoming a regular destination for UFC events. This international expansion wasn't just about hosting fights. It was about building a global fanbase and recruiting talent from around the world. How did the UFC go global? One fight at a time, crossing borders and cultures, key fighters and rivalries. The UFC's success is built on the backs of its fighters, modern-day gladiators who step into the octagon to prove their dominance. Anderson Silva, known for his striking precision and incredible fight IQ, reigned as the middleweight champion for years. Georges St-Pierre, a master of strategy and athleticism, dominated the welterweight division. Ronda Rousey broke barriers as the first female champion, inspiring a new generation of female fighters. Conor McGregor brought charisma and knockout power, becoming the sport's biggest star and crossing over into mainstream celebrity status. The UFC is also known for its legendary rivalries: Tito Ortiz versus Chuck Liddell, a grudge match that defined the early 2000s. Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz, two warriors who left everything in the octagon. Khabib Nurmagomedov versus McGregor, a clash of styles, personalities, and nations that captivated millions. These rivalries have fueled interest in the sport, creating storylines that keep fans coming back for more. What's the UFC's secret sauce? Fighter stars, epic rivalries, and unforgettable moments. Modern era and business growth. In 2016, the UFC made headlines with its $4 billion sale to WME-IMG, one of the largest deals in sports history. This acquisition marked a new era, with the UFC focusing on expanding its brand through partnerships with major media outlets like ESPN. The introduction of UFC Fight Pass, a digital streaming service, allowed fans to watch events and access exclusive content from anywhere in the world. Meanwhile, record-breaking fights like McGregor versus Khabib at UFC 229 set new pay-per-view records, solidifying the UFC's status as a global entertainment giant. The organization also expanded into new ventures, including a line of gyms, merchandise, and even a video game franchise. What's the UFC's business play? Making history, one record-breaking deal at a time. Conclusion: from its humble beginnings in 1993 to its current status as a multi-billion-dollar enterprise, the UFC's journey is a testament to resilience, innovation, and the universal appeal of combat sports. It has faced criticism, overcome obstacles, and emerged as a global phenomenon. The UFC isn't just a fight promotion, it's a cultural force, shaping the future of MMA and inspiring athletes around the world. So, what's next for the UFC? With continued global expansion, rising stars, and the ever-evolving landscape of MMA, one thing is certain: the UFC's story is far from over. Stay tuned, because the octagon is where legends are born, and history is made. What's UFC's next big move? Watch closely, because the greatest battles are yet to come.